And Israel must shift its priority from a hostage rescue mission to an offensive that focuses on eradicating Hamas. Now we have children, we have infants, we have them back home to safety, and this is a great progress. But we cannot go on like this. And if we continue to negotiate with them, they will continue stretching these negotiations, taking us into a rabbit hole that will never end. And we cannot allow this to happen. There is no other option for us but to stand united, fight together until Hamas is eradicated. Now, Israel has thousands of Hamas members in prison, and Israel must use this card. This is the time when Israel needs to use Hamas savages in prison to pressure Hamas leadership everywhere to release the hostages. We have mass murderers in prison, and they have all type of privileges and human rights. Israel cannot continue like this. Prisoners like Ibrahim Hamid, Abdullah al-Barghouthi must be sentenced to death. And Hamas must have a time frame, a month or 2 or 6 months, to return the hostages. And if they don't return the hostages within a time frame, Israel must execute top Hamas leaders in prison, especially the mass murderers. And when I say execute top Hamas leaders, I mean no exception. That includes my own father, the co-founder of Hamas movement. In this war, there are no exceptions. There is no difference between military wing and political wing. They are all partners in the crime. I made a mistake 10 or 15 years ago when I saved his life many times. He was supposed to die for his actions. I saved his life, and here we go. Things did not change. Things got worse. Hence, I give the Israeli government the permission to execute all Hamas top leaders in prison before we go after them in Gaza and before we go after them in Qatar. And again, I make myself very clear. No exception for anyone. All those who conspired, planned, validated, justified Hamas genocide must be punished. And if this is what Hamas want, the release of those mass murderers, then in my opinion, this is the head of the snake. And the head of the snake at this moment is not in Qatar and it's not in Gaza. It's in the Israeli prisons. If Israel know how to manage and how to play this card against Hamas, I guarantee you the return of all the hostages and the defeat of Hamas. Then we have Qatar and we have Hamas based in Qatar. We should not consider Qatar as a mediator, as a fair third party, as long as they host Hamas leadership and Hamas operation in Qatar. Qatar should be treated as an enemy state as long as they host Hamas leadership on their soil. Israel must make this very clear to the Qataris and to the rest of the world, that as long as Qatar keep Hamas base in Doha, Israel will have the right to go after Hamas leaders on the Qatari soil. Qatar must have a time frame within a month to expel Hamas leaders from Qatar. If they don't obey, Israel is not under any obligation to carry an attack or to carry an assassination on the Qatari soil targeting Hamas criminals, then the front in Gaza, I recommend from this point on to reduce the fire and to concentrate the fire that is going to target mostly Hamas and Hamas leaders. We should not be under pressure that we have to accomplish this operation in Gaza within any time frame. Even if Israel would consider an unannounced ceasefire, then this is fine, as long as Israel is watching every move Hamas does on the ground. Wherever they go, whenever they surface, that there is a missile coming from heaven that is going to hit them very hard. So the target and the concentration must be Hamas in Gaza. I know Israel has avoided targeting civilians, but at this stage, we try even more carefully and we be more precise in our targets. These are the 3 recommendations that I would like to see for the next phase of war in order to defeat Hamas movement. Hostages, we cannot be weak right now. Hamas prisoners, we have to play this card very well. Qatar, we cannot accept them as mediators anymore. And our targets in Gaza must concentrate on Hamas and on Hamas alone. Thank you.
但愿以色列听得懂，纳坦雅胡听得懂，可能会有一些考虑，这个时候再考虑还真的来不及了。你不能一鼓作气嘛。刚刚不是讲了吗？一直谈下去啊，都扁掉了啦，乘胜追击啊。给大家看以色列的一个新闻，就着10月7号这件事情，很多人相信现在真的是末世了。那有一般人是相信神的话会应验的，圣经时代和今天真的会应验。从1948年以色列建国到现在，以色列的存在是基于圣经先知的意象和所宣告的应许。所以以色列每一个人都要明白，我们住在这里不是偶然的。听好，以色列人住在应许迦南美地不是偶然，是有目标跟任务的。当然了，从巴勒斯坦的角度来看，是认为以色列征服了他们的土地，但是从以色列的角度来看，以色列是生活在符合圣经的土地上。到底谁征服？不是你巴勒斯坦吗？你霸占了嘛？这是圣经应许给以色列人的嘛？不过以色列犯了一个错误，跟以前一样。以色列过去75年的政治局势可以比拟是圣经中的士师时代、君王时代。这个作者这样讲也有道理。他说，我听到很多基督徒强调加萨这次的音乐季是崇拜偶像，成为被哈马斯攻击的罪魁祸首。不过这个人说，如果你了解圣经的话，以色列有比音乐节上的偶像更危险的偶像。那是什么呢？以色列某一种程度的自豪、自视甚高、沾沾自满，这个现象把国家往下拉。大家要留意，这个还是更大的偶像。民选的领导层跟安全机构在10月7号失败了，这是事实。 参加音乐季10%的年轻